Coming up on Global Business, strengthening ties. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has met with New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and his counterpart Winston Peters in Wellington. Growth prospects. China's key macro indicators for January and February indicate a steady pickup in consumption and investment. And going for gold. The price of the precious metal rallied to a record recently before paring back some of those gains. We'll explore if gold can sustain its momentum. And welcome everyone to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. Well, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has met with New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and his counterpart Winston Peters in Wellington. Now, Wang is on the first leg of a 5-day trip to New Zealand and Australia. It's also the first visit by a Chinese foreign minister to the two Pacific nations in 7 years. Our own Poland has more from Wellington.
The last time that China's foreign minister visited New Zealand was 7 years ago in 2017, but the political and economic landscape has changed quite dramatically since then. As the foreign minister for New Zealand's new centre-right coalition government, Winston Peters said he was honoured to host Wang Yi in the Grand Hall of New Zealand's Parliament, which he said is the heart of New Zealand's democracy. Mr. Peters says the bilateral meeting was a valuable opportunity to reflect on the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, especially after the disruption caused by the COVID pandemic. Mr. Wang's visit marks 10 years since China and New Zealand signed a comprehensive strategic partnership, and Mr. Peters says it's now timely to discuss how the two countries can best work together over the next decade. Mr. Peters said that he appreciated the opportunity to cooperate with China bilaterally and to work together on regional and international issues of importance to both countries. Wang Yi also had a separate meeting with Prime Minister Chris Luxon, who said that working together with China was really critical to building relationships across the region. Mr. Luxon said that the two-way trade and people-to-people contacts with China were mutually beneficial to both countries and that New Zealand looked forward to building on that relationship.
We obviously have a thriving two-way trade of $38 billion that is mutually beneficial to both countries. We also believe we have strong people-to-people connections and certainly have a strong, passionate, vibrant Chinese community here in New Zealand that I think has made New Zealand a much richer and a much better place.
The Prime Minister's message was well received by Wang Yi, who praised New Zealand's rational, pragmatic and positive policy towards China, which obviously augurs well for future relations between the two countries.
I know you have always attached great importance to the relationship between China and New Zealand, and you have also led the New Zealand government in adopting a rational, pragmatic and positive policy towards China. This is something we really appreciate.
Owen Poland, CGTN, Wellington.
Now, China and New Zealand established diplomatic relations back in 1972. They have a comprehensive strategic partnership, which again turns this year. A practical cooperation has produced solid results. In 2008, China and New Zealand signed a free trade agreement. Their total trade in goods increased from $4.4 billion back in 2008 to over $25 billion in 2022. That's an average annual increase of 13%. New Zealand's exports to China have grown at an annual rate of 17%. China is New Zealand's largest trading partner, export destination, and import source. Now, in 2017, New Zealand became the first Western developed country to sign a Belt and Road Initiative cooperation document with China. Well, the 10th China-Brazil Economic and Financial Subcommittee meeting was held in Beijing today. Leading the meeting were China's Vice Minister of Finance, Liao Min, and Brazil's Deputy Minister of Finance, Tatiana Rosito. Discussions between the two sides centered around strategies to enhance coordination and cooperation. Our Aaron Liu has more from the Diaoyutai State Guest House right here in Beijing.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and Brazil. Meetings held between the two sides focused on the macroeconomic policies and bilateral financial cooperation. Multiple agreements were also reached. China's Vice Minister of Finance, Liao Min, put forward 3 suggestions to strengthen coordination and cooperation between the two countries. Firstly, it was proposed to enhance communication and coordination on macroeconomic policies, with China expressing willingness to explore alignment between the Belt and Road Initiative and Brazil's strategy. Secondly, there was a call to promote improvements in the global economic governance system. Lastly, emphasis was placed on deepening practical cooperation in the bilateral financial and economic fields. China has maintained its position as Brazil's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years. The Brazilian Deputy Minister of Finance highlighted that Chinese companies are actively seeking cooperation with Brazil in emerging fields such as the digital economy, green development, and mobile communications. In February 2023, both countries signed a memorandum of understanding to establish the renminbi clearing arrangement in Brazil, further facilitating bilateral trade and investment. Tomorrow, the China-Brazil Financial Forum will convene to discuss how China's high-quality development and high-level opening up can create more opportunities for countries worldwide, including Brazil. Aaron Liu, CGTN, the Diaoyutai Guest House in Beijing.
Into China's economy, where the country's Statistics Bureau said that the world's second largest economy remained stable and saw growth in the first 2 months. Our Yang Shanshan reports.
The National Bureau of Statistics says China's economy remains stable and saw growth in the first 2 months. The latest economic data from January and February shows an improvement in industrial production, with 7% growth. The service industry showed good momentum, with a growth of 5.8% year-on-year, particularly in hotel and catering, software, information technology, and finance services. Investments in fixed assets increased steadily, and investments in high-tech industries grew fast. Market sales continued to recover, and service consumption grew faster.
The manufacturing industry recovered faster, particularly in the consumer goods and high-tech sectors, though it still faces pressure from inadequate orders and rising costs. It is making efforts to improve innovation competence so as to upgrade its value chain.
Import and export of goods grew fast, with an increase of 8.7% year-on-year. Employment situation was generally stable, with urban unemployment rate averaging 5.3%. Consumption price remained the same, and production prices for industrial products declined by 2.6% year-on-year.
We are confident of achieving 5% GDP annual growth in 2024 as major economic indexes continue to rebound, supporting policies having an impact. However, we must keep in mind that the situation abroad is still complex and volatile, with the world economy facing uncertain risks. Chinese domestic demand still remains inadequate, and the foundation of economic recovery is still not solid yet.
Chinese officials promise that they will intensify efforts to support economy, improve business environment, and stimulate domestic demand, with hope that China could achieve high-quality economic development in 2024. Yang Shanshan, CGTN, Beijing.
The Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area is home to what's called a lighthouse factory that's emerging as a torchbearer of innovation here in China. Now, this specific factory has garnered recognition as the world's most advanced factory and has been selected as a model of digital manufacturing by the World Economic Forum. Now, China currently boasts 62 out of the 153 selected lighthouse factories globally. Take a look.
GAC Ion New Energy Automobile has recently been included in the latest group of lighthouse factories, earning the distinction of being the sole lighthouse factory for new energy vehicles worldwide. This eco-factory is equipped with over 600 robots that carry out tasks based on predetermined programs.
Once a customer places an order on the app, a corresponding order is generated. This order will automatically enter the production scheduling system, and the production data will be transmitted to various workshops.
To excel in the manufacturing industry, this new energy vehicle company has adopted a winning strategy: customization. Leveraging their advanced production lines, customers now have the freedom to select from a wide range of options, including models, colors, and various other features. In their pursuit of advanced customization, the team behind this new energy vehicle company has also incorporated digitalization and smart technologies across their workshop during the factory's design phase in 2017.
The Lighthouse factory tests digital capabilities. By digitizing, we simulate all aspects and actions of our equipment to eliminate waste and enhance operational efficiency.
Being the only Lighthouse factory for new energy vehicles globally, this factory has attained the highest standards of intelligence. Through upgraded process, they have achieved remarkable improvement, including a 50% increase in efficiency and a nearly 60% decrease in manufacturing costs. It also stands as a shining example of high-end manufacturing in the Greater Bay Area, showcasing the region's commitment to innovation and technological advancement. Yu Bokun, CGTN.
And Macau is preparing to inaugurate its fourth cross-sea bridge as the bridge recently achieved full closure. The construction of the fourth Macau-Taipa Bridge, known as the Aodang Bridge, spanned nearly 4 years. Now, the Aodang Bridge is Macau's first 8-lane capacity bridge and is expected to alleviate the traffic congestion on the existing 3 bridges connecting Taipa Island and Macau's main peninsula. Its completion comes at a crucial time. The move enhances transportation to Macau's planned new Urban Zone A. That's located near the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. And here's what China's Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, the company that built this bridge, said about the importance of this occasion. Take a listen.
The
complete closure of the Aodang Bridge, which we are celebrating today, signifies a major milestone as we approach its grand opening. This momentous event will serve as a commemorative gift to mark Macau's 25th anniversary of returning to the motherland this year. As one of the key constructors involved, China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation is delighted to reaffirm its unwavering dedication to the Macau market. We pledge to continue building with the focus on sustainability and efficiency in accordance with the demand for cultivating new quality productive forces.
And the fourth China Cross-Border E-Commerce Trade Fair opened on Monday in the capital of China's southeastern province of Fujian. The exhibition has attracted now more than 30 cross-border e-commerce platforms from around the world and more than 1,500 exhibitors from across China. CGTN's Zhou Yixin is there.
At the fourth China Cross-Border E-Commerce Trade Fair, Nur Hayati from Malaysia is looking for potential Chinese business partners as exporters or investors. She's come to China with a purchasing group from Southeast Asia, which has emerged as one of the regions with the fastest growing e-commerce sectors in the world.
Chinese product is good. Over the years, it has been really, really good. And a lot of products from Malaysia is made in China as well. And we do a lot of cooperations on Shopee and Lazada. But then if the companies in China can put their products or services in Malaysia and establish some companies or joint venture with Malaysian companies, this also can cut some costs on logistics.
Sharon is from the same purchasing group. She's looking for Chinese food products to sell in Malaysia and beyond, as well as potential Chinese business partners.
What attracts me here is definitely the pricing is so much better compared to other countries, and also the quality over the time has gotten so much better, and the deliverance is so much faster.
This year's trade fair involves many popular live broadcast anchors from Southeast Asia. Many cross-border e-commerce companies are also discussing cooperation with multi-channel network agencies that have live broadcast anchors. As cross-border e-commerce develops in China, enterprises are increasingly aiming to go global with their independent brands, not just their products.
因为以往常规的贸易业态里面，中国制造往往是
In the past, China was often in the OEM stage, and the brands were mostly in control of companies of developed countries. After the emergence of cross-border e-commerce, we used the internet to make Chinese products directly reach overseas markets and consumers. Through this, we get data feedback so manufacturers can better carry out research and development and design.
我们就能更好地去促进研发设计。
At the opening ceremony and the main forum of the trade fair, the focus has been on the global development of cross-border e-commerce and opportunities this presents for Chinese companies going overseas.
Some experts say cross-border e-commerce is China's fastest-growing foreign trade avenue. It also has the most potential. This trade fair will enable more Chinese traditional foreign trade companies and emerging e-commerce firms to explore overseas markets and bolster China's national strategy for increasing trade. Zhou Xing, CGTN, Fuzhou, Fujian Province.
And still to come here on Global Business. Going for gold, the price of the precious metal rallied to a record recently before paring back some of those gains. We'll explore if gold can sustain its price momentum.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business, only on CGTN.
The gold futures are experiencing a slight rebound after a weekend tumble as market participants anticipate the upcoming meeting of the U.S. Federal Reserve. The gold futures this Monday are up by around 0.17% to touch $2,164.70 per troy ounce as of 12:40 GMT. Now, last week, gold futures reached a record high of nearly $2,190. The fluctuating gold prices have been influenced by concerns surrounding the timing of the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate cuts. A higher U.S. interest rate makes gold less attractive as an investment. So gold has been on a stellar rally since mid-February. That's as the U.S. dollar weakened, U.S. Treasury yields declined, and as investors expect the U.S. Federal Reserve to cut its elevated interest rates later on this year. So let's get more on the outlook of the price of gold and bring in Professor John Gong from the University of International Business and Economics. Professor Gong, always a pleasure to have you on the show. So let's talk about some of the potential tailwinds that might support the price of gold this year. We know, of course, this year is the year of the dragon, the year of the Chinese dragon, and that is propelling more Chinese people to buy physical gold. Meanwhile, India, that's another big gold buying country. India has allowed its central bank now to import gold without levies for the first time. So give us your perspective first on whether we will see this sustained demand and price rally for gold if we see robust demand from both China and India.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Michael. It's always nice to talk to you on TV. The gold price, I think, is driven by two factors, mostly by two factors. One is, of course, it's a relationship with the dollar. As dollar weakens, as the prospect of rate cuts in the United States is coming, even though I think it's not going to come anytime soon, it may take some time. The broader trend towards a weakened dollar propels gold price. The second thing, of course, the demand from the jewelry market, especially India and China, both countries jointly accounting for about 50%, more than 50% of total global demand for gold. And historically, demand for jewelry-based demand for gold accounts for about a little bit short of 50% of total gold usage. So I think these two factors are really driving the gold price to a fairly robust level this year. I would say, even though the rate cuts may not come anytime soon, I think at least for the rest of the year, gold is going to maintain a fairly high price. Some people are predicting it's maybe even 2,300, maybe even 2,500. So overall, I think gold is a good investment. Gold is gold at this point.
Wow, 2,500. That is quite a bull case for gold, Professor. So we were just talking about the tailwind over there. Let's talk about some of the headwinds, the challenges that might put a cap on gold prices. Because higher U.S. yields, that makes gold less attractive since gold doesn't yield anything. It just relies on price appreciation, whereas investors, if they want to buy U.S. risk assets, you could potentially enjoy both yield and price appreciation. So if the Fed only cuts rates by 1 to 2 times this year, not that many times, does that mean gold's rally may lose a lot of momentum?
I think the expectation of rate cuts is pretty much already incorporated the gold price right now. So if the rate cuts, round of rate cuts is less than expected value, that might see a little bit of a drop pressure on the gold price. Another thing I want to point out is that is the geopolitical uncertainties. The way I see these two wars going on are not going to stop anytime soon. Certainly the war in Israel, in Gaza, is ongoing. At least I think, some skirmishes in the northern border with Hezbollah. I don't see the kind of a fight is going to stop anytime soon. In Ukraine, there's no prospect of negotiation anytime soon before the end of the year, before the U.S. election, in my view, presidential election. So I think, with the geopolitical uncertainties, with the expectation of weakened dollars as a result of rate cuts in the United States, gold still remains a fairly robust option. And let alone, demand for jewelries in China, India, are booming these days.
Right. So then with this rising geopolitical and geoeconomic tensions, how does gold look like as a long-term hedge against some of the economic uncertainties and geopolitical volatilities that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so from a long-term perspective, we economists always argue what is the gold used for, right? It's like from the ground, it's stored in some room in the bunker of some central bank's warehouse or whatever office they have. Historically, central bank buying of gold accounts for about a quarter of the gold usage, and all indicators are pointing to the fact that the central banks are buying more gold. So I think over the long run, I think the gold as a place for hedging, as a place for alternative to a hard currency, vis-a-vis the United States dollar, it's going to remain to be a very important option. It's not going to go away. I think especially, when Washington adopts more sanctions on other countries, when what's happening in Europe, for example, talking about seizing Russia's foreign exchange reserve, this is going to put more pressure, more demand actually on people's demand for gold, because after all, gold is always reliable, and it's not subject to somebody's sanction, I guess.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Many thanks for your thoughts. As always, Professor John Gong from the University of International Business and Economics. Well, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration is investigating how a United Airlines Boeing 737-800 lost an external panel before landing safely in the U.S. state of Oregon on Friday. United Airlines says it will also investigate and says no emergency was declared because there was no indication of any damage during that flight. Of course, Boeing has been under heavy regulatory scrutiny following an Alaska Airlines incident back in January when a plane door plug blew out. Our Papit Mpoting has more.
When the door of an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 flight departing Portland, Oregon blew out soon after takeoff in January, those on board were shocked. Passengers filed lawsuits, and the incident prompted an audit by U.S. federal investigators into Boeing's safety standards.
Any words of assurance for customers who are too scared to fly on a Boeing plane?
We believe in our airplanes. We field safe airplanes. Our people do. We have confidence in the safety of our airplanes, and that's what all of this is about. And we fully understand the gravity.
Despite the strong words from Boeing's CEO, the U.S.'s Federal Aviation Administration found that there were quality control failings, and an action plan was requested, which is due in May. Since then, though, Boeing has very much stayed on the radar as more incidents have been reported. The latest on Friday, the discovery that an external panel was missing from a plane that landed in Oregon. Just a few days before that, halfway across the world, reports that a Boeing 737 LATAM flight from Australia to New Zealand plunged unexpectedly, injuring dozens of passengers.
A massive jolt happened, and I was awakened, and I looked up to see the gentleman that was sitting next to me on the roof of the plane. I'm looking at him fully outstretched with his back on the roof of the plane, and then he came crashing down to the floor. I saw not heads, a few neck braces being applied, people being patched up with cuts and bruises. The gentleman beside me suffered some rib injuries.
Earlier this month in the US, a wheel fell off a United Airlines Boeing 777 plane in San Francisco during takeoff. There were no injuries on the ground. The same day, a United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft rolled off the runway in Texas after landing. As federal investigators take a closer look at Boeing and its commitment to quality and safety standards, the company's stock has declined, down about 30%. Analysts say more incidents could cost the company billions of dollars. Poppy Mputing, CGTN, Washington.
Well, Uganda, Africa's top coffee bean exporter, faced a decline of 9% in coffee exports during February, as per the latest report. And to counter this setback, local farmers are now actively engaging in the cultivation of new coffee varieties aimed at revitalizing the country's export market. Our Isabel Nakiria has more.
Mohamed Abdel Samad is ensuring the finest grind of coffee enters the export market from Uganda. Uganda mostly exports raw coffee beans, but Mohamed is shipping processed coffee, which fetches a higher price. He's also improved on packaging to attract buyers.
We are doing the necessary steps to get it direct to the consumer consumption, initiated from Uganda, not in another country. By doing this, actually we are, the concept of add value to any product. Yeah.
The Sudanese exporter has been working in the Ugandan coffee industry for nearly a year now. He's setting up a system to promote processing across the country to improve production.
We have already created collection centers around in Uganda, and we have now about 3 or 4. And we are exporting hauling milling machines from China, around 16, and we are going to disturb in these centers. And we will be near the farmers.
Coffee exports fell by the most in 14 months in February due to a drought in the Mount Elgon region. Uganda has an ambitious target of nearly tripling its export volumes by 2030, and it hopes to do this by adding value to its coffee, by improving its quality and boosting revenues. The coffee agency is now training farmers on how to get new varieties that are drought-resistant to try and mitigate climate change so that exporters like Mohamed can have the best quality bean.
Laberica is a variety which has been growing here in the forests, but later on domesticated by farmers. So it is highly resistant to drought, but also tolerant to some pests and diseases. If you look at its cup quality, it's not very good, but our interest here is to get those other characteristics of it has a big rooting system which can help it to get acclimatized in areas which are dry.
Coffee is Uganda's top agriculture export, and the country is Africa's leading exporter of coffee beans. Mohamed says he's hoping to scale up export volumes of value-added coffee with new coffee varieties hitting the market. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN Kampala, Uganda.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.